I'm Christine, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm here to chat about all of my favorite historical romance reads of 2023. So historical romances are my all-time favorite romances to read. I love them so much. This year though, I have only read, I think around 60, just a little over 60, which is definitely still a lot. Like I'm still reading historical romances every month, but there are so many more that I want to dive into. Looking back at both 2020 and 2021, historical romances dominated my reading every month. And so I definitely want to get back into them. There's so many I want to still get to. So we'll see what 2024 brings, but today we're here to chat about my favorite historicals of 2023. And not only are we chatting about my favorite romances to read, but this video today is also a collab with B from Mama Needs to Read Romance. I adore B so much. I love her channel, love watching her videos. Her intros always just make me laugh so much. She's so much fun, and definitely give her a follow. I will link her in the description of this video. B and I have collabed before, and so we wanted to do another one, and we're like, let's do historicals. Like, we both love historicals, and let's look back at all of our favorite historical reads of the year. So this is, of course, is going to be just like our favorite historicals of the year, not necessarily ones that came out in 2023, but ones that we read and loved in 2023. So I can't wait to check out B's video and see which ones she loved this year. I think I know a few of them just from her reviews and her videos, but we shall see what else she loved this year. I can't wait to find out. I have my notes here, and I have about 15 or 16 to share today. I'm just going to quickly give you a rundown of all of them so we can get to them all. Of course, as always though, if you ever want to see more of my thoughts or my full reviews on any of these books or any of the books that I read, I do review every book that I read on Goodreads, and my Goodreads is always linked in the description of all of my videos. So with all of that out of the way, let's jump into my favorite historicals of 2023. First up is A Rogue's Rules for Seduction by Ava Lee. This is the third and final book in her Last Chance Scoundrels series. This one came out at the beginning of the year, and I loved this one so much. There's something about Ava's writing that the last book always hits just so well. It's the book you're waiting for. So that was definitely the case for this one. This series follows three kind of roguish friends who get into some trouble with their families. Basically, they have just been kind of messing around. At the very beginning of the series in book one, we see two of the friends end up helping their third friend jilt his bride at the altar, which is two of the friends' sister, and so they kind of help him escape the wedding. So their families are like sick of their nonsense and like, how dare you hurt your sister and do this, and like, you guys need to stop messing around and get serious, find brides within a year or you risk getting cut off. So this book is the third book in the series, and this is actually the second chance romance for Dom and Willa, and Dom is the friend at the very beginning in book one who left his bride Willa at the altar. On this one, it's been a year since that wedding that never came to be, since the series started. And we see Willa and Dom's family and friends kind of pushing them together and having them both show up at this house party on a Scottish isle. So there's no way to get off the island, and they're kind of stuck there together for this little like house party. This one was just so good. I am a sucker for a second chance romance, and this one was the epitome of second chance. I loved how emotional it was. Seeing Willa and Dom kind of have to be forced together and forced to confront all of these issues from their past. They kind of realize that time apart for the year was definitely needed, and that they weren't ready for that wedding that would have happened a year ago. They really didn't know each other as well as they thought they did back then, and so I kind of liked seeing that exploration. Dom definitely has a lot of feelings about him and his past, like he doesn't feel worthy. He kind of came from a commoner background, and his family built themselves up, and now he's aristocracy, but he always felt on the outside of this kind of social circle where Willa was definitely like the princess of the town, and everybody loved her, and she was always with the in crowd. So we kind of see them explore that as well, and it's just so good. I definitely recommend it. If you haven't picked it up this year, definitely make sure to do so in 2024. Next up is Get Thee Off My Lawn by Daria Vernon. This one always puts a smile on my face, and you can't say this title without like smiling and having a good time. It's so much fun. This is actually a historical romance novella on Kindle Unlimited, and it is so fun, so cute, so adorable. So in this one, the hero and the heroine are actually neighbors, and we see at the beginning of the story that the heroine, she loves swans. She has this one swan, and he ends up escaping over to the neighbor's yard, and she thinks he's run off and is in their pond. So she sneaks over to their side of the property to go and get her swan back. And when she's kind of digging around in the mud trying to get into this pond, the hero shows up and is like, excuse me, I'm like, what are you doing on my father's property? Like, why are you trying to steal our swan? So she's like, no, like, this is my swan, I swear. So they kind of get into this little like bantering moment right from the start, and he's like, okay, like, I'll help you steal back your swan. They're both in the mud, they get dirty, and so they end up going into his house, or his father's house, because he's the neighbor's son. And so they go to get cleaned up, and when they're in there, some things happen. Have a little hookup situation happening, which is just so much fun. The banter in here is top notch. It's so funny, so cute. There were some surprises in the story as well, which, I mean, you just got to read it and find out. It's like a little bit of tension as well, and I had just such a great time with this one and loved it so much. Next up is When the Earl Met His Match by Stacey Reid. This is actually the 4th book in her Wedded by Scandal series, but you can definitely read this as a standalone. So this one starts off with the heroine, and she sees this advert in the newspaper of a man looking for a bride, and so she can't believe like the gall of him, and so she kind of replies sassily and starts responding with him that way. So this kind of becomes a bit of an epistolary romance when the story starts, because they start writing back and forth to each other for weeks, kind of just going back and forth, and then the heroine ends up shocking the hero because she ends up proposing marriage to him in her last letter. So the hero is an heir to an earldom, and he's been raised kind of in the isolated countryside of Scotland by his father, and his father always told him to never get married, definitely never marry for love, because his wife / the mom of the hero left them when he was a child and things like that, so he's never wanted his son to marry and get hurt as well. So the hero, of course, has never planned to marry for love, and that's why he put out that advert in the newspaper. So we know from the heroine's POV that she's the daughter of a duke, and she has found herself compromised, and she needs to quickly get married to kind of save herself. So that's why she offers up this like marriage of convenience with the hero. And so when she gets to the property, she's actually surprised to find out that the man / the hero that she's been communicating with this whole time through letters is actually mute. So when she gets there, she's kind of expecting the hero not to go along with this marriage of convenience idea that she kind of just threw on him, put in the last letter, and then showed up at his property. But he actually surprises her and goes along with it because he has some secrets of his own that he wants to just marry her for. The hero in this one is definitely a bit of an alpha hero, but like in the best way. He's super swoony and sweet, even though he thinks like romance and love are not for him. I'm also personally just trash for a hero who doesn't think he's capable of love or loving people or accepting love. So it just worked for me so well. Heroine in this one as well, I really liked how she immediately wants to learn a sign language to be able to communicate with him, and these two are just so good. It's very swoony, just sweepingly romantic, and such a good one from Stacey Reid. Next up is The Temptation of a Highlander by Elisa Braden, and this is actually the 3rd book in her Midnights in Scotland series. Elisa Braden is an amazing indie historical romance author. I love her books so much. She has 2 series right now, so one of which is the Rescued from Ruin series. Love that series so much. And then the second one is the Midnights in Scotland series. That's one she's still currently writing in. The 4th book is supposed to come out in the beginning of 2024. So Temptations of a Highlander is book 3, and I love this one so much. Definitely my favorite in the series so far. This one is historical romance, but with a little bit of romantic suspense in it as well. So if that is your jam, definitely pick this one up. So the heroine in this one is 28 when the story starts, and she's been on the marriage mart for 8 years with 8 unsuccessful seasons under her belt. And so her last season, though, she ended up attracting a suitor who actually turns out to be a stalker. She's definitely worried about that because she only lives with her grandmother. They live in poverty. So she's like, we need to get out of the city fast. And her and her grandma take off to go to Scotland to stay with the heroine's friend, who is the heroine of one of the other books in the series. When she gets to her friend's house in Scotland, she ends up meeting the hero, who is there to kind of protect and be her bodyguard. This one definitely has those bodyguard vibes. It actually becomes a marriage of convenience as well for reasons. If you love like a grumpy, stoic, cold Scottish hero, this hero and this book are definitely going to be for you. They worked for me so well. Like I mentioned, the romantic suspense vibes in here are definitely strong, like the danger and the threats to the heroine in this one. The stakes are very high. So yeah, I just really enjoyed this one. The chemistry and the swoon and the romance, the romantic suspense elements, it's just so good. Definitely my favorite couple of the series so far. Next up is The Duchess Takes a Husband by Harper St. George. This is actually the 4th and final book in the Gilded Age Heiresses series, and this was actually a book that the author never planned to write, but so many people, I guess, wrote into her, readers and fans, and were like, you need to give this heroine her own story. She definitely deserves an HEA after everything we've seen her put through throughout the series. So I'm so glad she did, because this is easily my favorite in the series, and I loved it so much. So this whole series is set in the Gilded Age, which of course the title suggests, and it follows these dollar princesses. And so this was actually a real term that was coined for American heiresses who were married into British aristocracy between 1870 and 1910. The heroine of this story was actually loosely based on a real-life dollar princess, which was Consuela Vanderbilt, whose parents literally forced her into a marriage to a duke. The whole story and history of that is wild. Definitely go look that up if you are not familiar with that, because that story is bonkers. But yeah, that is who this heroine is loosely based off of. And she gets an HEA, which I think we all think she deserves. When this series started out, the prologue of book 1 was actually Camille, the heroine of this book, being forced into this marriage to British aristocracy. She was an American heiress, and so she kind of became this precautionary tale to the heroines of the story and kind of like what could become of them and living this like very unhappy life and things like that. So she was kind of always in the background of all of the stories. The story starts off when Camille is 23, and we see that she is now a dowager duchess, which means that she is of course a widow. So at 23, she's a widow, and her parents are kind of wanting her to get married again and do all of that. And she's like, no, like I am done getting married. I am over that. I've already done that. Like I just want to live my life in peace and happiness. Like I have this time for myself now. So she's really ready to just take control of her own life and do whatever she wants. And so at the beginning of the story, we see her heading out to this club where she meets the hero. He's a co-owner there. And she goes up to him and actually asks him for lessons in pleasure because she doesn't think that she's capable of enjoying sensual times. So at first the hero ends up turning her down, but when his reputation as a ladies' man is going to possibly put a future business investment at risk, he kind of returns to her and is like, hey, I have a better idea. Like, let's pretend to be fake engaged. So at first she's like, excuse me, you turned down my offer and now you have the gall to come back to me with your own request? But then she thinks about it for a second and she's like, ooh, you know what? I will go along with this if you promise to give me these sensual lessons. I love these two together so much. I feel like this kind of trope of lessons in pleasure or teach me moments, they can obviously be super steamy, which this definitely was, but I liked in here as well how we get a lot of like emotional depth to the characters as well. We see the heroine kind of open up to the hero about things from her past with her abuse that she dealt with in her marriage, and it was just so good. I loved seeing them together. Next up is Lions and Lace by Megan McKinney. So this is actually a historical romance from the early 90s. I think it was published in 1992. I love this one so much and ate it up. I think you definitely have to be a fan of alpha heroes though, so just know that going in. This one is actually a Gilded Age historical as well. This one's set in New York City though, and in this one we have a revenge plot and a little bit of a marriage of convenience. So the heroine in this one, she's actually an heiress, and from the outside, it looks like she has everything in life, like her life is perfect, but she definitely has some secrets of her own. So the hero in this one's actually dubbed the Predator of Wall Street, kind of gives that like Wolf of Wall Street vibes, so to speak. But basically, he grew up from poverty on the streets of Ireland. He had nothing. He built himself up. And so even though he's like really well respected on Wall Street, he's actually still snubbed from the city's elite, the 400. So he cannot stand these very rich and powerful society families that exist in New York. And so when his sister becomes involved in something, he's like had enough, and he schemes up this revenge plan to basically destroy every single one of these rich and powerful New York City families, one by one, including the heroine's family. So it just so happens that the heroine actually kind of easily falls into the hero's lap when her uncle, who is her guardian, ends up telling her at the beginning of the story that their family's out of money, she has no more money left, and he goes and drops her off at the hero's doorstep, which is wild. So the hero and heroine kind of quickly realize that they both have something to gain from this marriage of convenience that he's kind of wanting to force upon her. Basically, he wants access to the society's elite that he can get by marrying her. And the heroine, like I said, she has things going on and she has a secret and she wants to protect her sister. This hero definitely comes off as like an alpha hole. He acts like he hates everyone. That's definitely how it seems on page. He's definitely one of those heroes where you have to pay attention to his actions instead of his words or how other people kind of see him, because we see from his POV and from all the things that he does, like he is super protective of his siblings, his sister and his brother. He actually worked himself to near death for just pennies to provide for his brother and sister after their mother died. Was out of his way to be helpful with the staff as well. I actually remember vividly this scene where him and this woman who works for him, they get stuck in an elevator together. She's pregnant. She actually goes into birth. He helps with the birth, and then after that he ends up helping like care for her child later on as well. So yeah, you definitely have to pay attention to his inner thoughts with the heroine, because he will just be like one of those heroes who quickly jumps to the wrong conclusion, believes the worst in people, like believes the worst thing he hears about them, and so he'll always try to push away the heroine for the first thing that he hears wrong with her. But of course, like he actually really does care for her. So yeah, he's kind of one of those heroes where his actions speak louder than his words. This one was just so good. I loved all of the like argumentative banter and tension between the hero and the heroine. I feel like marriage of conveniences are one of my favorite tropes, and sometimes they can go where just like things go too easily and you're like, why is this even a marriage of convenience? Like you're both in bed together, you have feelings for one another, like what's keeping you apart from making this real? But in this case, this couple, like they had so much tension, so much banter, they were always arguing, like they had definitely something to work through to make this marriage of convenience work, which I loved so much. It was such a fun read. Next up is The Notorious Lord Knightley by Lorraine Heath. Lorraine Heath is one of my historical romance queens. I love all of her books so much and read everything that she writes. This is the second book in her Chessmen series, and this one is definitely my favorite of the series so far. This one is a second chance romance, and I feel like with all of Lorraine Heath's reads, that's just like the tip of the iceberg is what you see in the synopsis or the blurb of it, but the real story and the real tropes that come into play like are just waiting for you to jump in and figure them out. This one, basically the hero and the heroine, they were actually engaged in the past, and on their wedding day, the hero ended up calling off the wedding and saying that the whole thing was a joke, like he was never interested in her. So she was wrecked, not only like emotionally, but she was also, her reputation was tarnished and all of these things. So we catch up to them 5 years later, and the heroine is actually now anonymously publishing this book about this scoundrel and calling out the hero, basically. Like she says Lord K, and everybody like puts together from the clues of the story that it's him. This one was just so good as a second chance romance. They definitely have things to work through. We find out more about the hero and the heroine's families and their pasts as the story unfolds. Like I said, there's a lot more to the story than you first think. As of course, as always with Lorraine Heath reads, you get to see so many familiar places and faces and characters from her other series since they all do connect. So yeah, so good. Love this one so much. Definitely check it out. Next up is Harden Highlands by Heidi Kimball. So this one was so good and I loved it. Basically in here we have an English heroine and a Scottish hero and they are set up in this arranged marriage. This is also a closed door historical romance. This is an arranged marriage where the hero and the heroines, their fathers are trying to marry them and pair them off together. And so the couple, while at first they were like not really into it, they decide, you know what, like why not just go into this with an open mind, an open heart and see what happens. So they end up meeting and everything's going well. And then the hero ends up taking off the day after their wedding and she doesn't see him again for 4 years. This one was just so good. If you can tell by some of my favorites in here, I love a good second chance romance, and this one was so good. So swoony and just beautiful writing. I loved it so much. It has some other tropes in here as well that you find out as the story unfolds, and it is just so good. I definitely recommend it. It is one of those with no steam and closed door, like I said, so if you're in the mood for that one, definitely pick it up. So next up, I actually have a YA historical romance rec for you. So this is Queen Bee by Amelie Howard, and this one was so good. I loved it so much. Basically, this is a Regency era YA or young adult historical romance, and this was described as the Bridgertons meets the Count of Monte Cristo. So it definitely has this revenge plot at the center of the story, which I absolutely loved. It also gave me vibes of like Mean Girls and Taylor Swift's Reputation album. So if you're here for any of those vibes, definitely check this one out. So this one starts off with the heroine and her best friend actually betrays her. There's a boy involved. The heroine ends up getting sent away, disgraced. And so we catch up to her years later where she has been just cultivating and planning this giant revenge plot to get back at everybody. Audiobook for this one in particular was so good. I definitely recommend it. I loved how the heroine just had her heart set on revenge and she was not going to be satisfied until she got that done. Next up is Anna Maria and the Fox by Liana de la Rosa. I have loved this author. She's usually an indie historical romance author, but this was actually her first historical romance being published traditionally with Berkeley, and it was so good. This one is set in the Victorian era, which I love to see, and basically in here we follow the heroine and her two sisters. They end up getting sent away secretly to seek refuge in London. They are 3 Mexican heiresses, and they're sent away because the French is occupying Mexico when the story starts. So the heroine ends up meeting the hero, who is a British politician, and their story kind of goes from there. This one is definitely more of a slow burn where the romance doesn't really kick in into the second half of the story, but I just really appreciated it. I love seeing the heroine and her sisters and kind of discovering all these new freedoms they have in London. I really liked the hero with the heroine. Their chemistry together was so good. He has like this very my wife energy, which was so good. I just really enjoyed this one. I'm excited for the rest of the series, which will follow the heroine's sisters. Next up is The Phantom of Drury Lane by Kate Bateman, and this is a historical romance novella. It's on Kindle Unlimited. This one is inspired by The Phantom of the Opera, which is one of my favorite stories of all time. In this one, we see that the hero and heroine have known one another for years. He was actually a friend of her brother's, and so they were kind of always around one another. They actually shared a kiss in the past. Now they're both back in London at the same time. She was actually off exploring with her family, and he was actually fighting in the Napoleonic War, so he's back from Waterloo. He actually has a scar across his face, so they run into one another, and he ends up telling her about this bet going on at one of the local theaters that he's actually a co-owner of. Basically, there's this like phantom haunting the theater house, and there's like this reward out for I think £100 for whoever can solve the case and figure out the identity of the phantom. So he knows that the heroine loves mysteries and adventures, and so he's like, you should take part in this as well, and obviously I can help you out. Since I'm a co-owner, I have a key to the theater and we can go explore it together. This one was just so much fun. I loved the couple's chemistry in this one and their banter. It was so good. Like I said, they did share a kiss in the past, but they promised to like never talk about it. But of course, you know it's going to come up. This has such great Phantom of the Opera nods as well, and just such a good little inspired retelling of the story. Definitely check out this novella. Next up is An Island Princess Starts a Scandal by Adriana Herrera. So this is actually a sapphic historical romance that came out this year, and this one was so good. I really enjoyed it. So this has a Parisian setting. It's set in Paris, and we see these two heroines fall for one another. One of them is a Dominican artist, and she is kind of escaping for the last summer of her freedom that she has before she's kind of going to agree to be in this marriage that she's not really very excited about. Other heroine is this very like ruthless in business, a badass kind of heroine. She's a duchess, and so we see these two kind of meet and fall for one another, and it is just so good. Like I mentioned, I love that this was set in Paris. That kind of very lush Parisian setting was so good. I love the friend group in here. We get some lessons as well. The whole art scene was so good. And we have a little bit of a bargain between the two heroines happening as well. So if you want a historical romance that kind of feels like a breath of fresh air, definitely check this one out. Like I mentioned, it is a sapphic historical romance. We get some Latin American history. It is just so good. Definitely check out the author's note at the end as well. Next up is Lady Ruthless by Scarlett Scott. I actually read a bunch from this author this year, so you're going to see a couple more on this list as well from her. So this is the first book in her Notorious Ladies of London series, and this one is so good. Scarlett Scott is so amazing at writing enemies to lovers, like true enemies to lovers historical romances, and this one is definitely the case. Like, this even has a bit of a captivity situation as well. So in this one, the heroine is the sister of a duke, and she has been anonymously writing and publishing these kind of scandal sheets about the hero, and she has called it The Confessions of a Sinful Earl. And basically the hero is the Earl of Sinclair, and he goes by the name of Sin. So like, everybody knows she's writing about him, and even he knows she's writing about him and can't stand it that she's publishing all these lies about him. So the story starts off with him actually kidnapping her. Basically, she's telling the whole world that he killed his wife and the man that his wife was having an affair with, who was actually her brother. He can't stand that his reputation is being ruined, and he can't stand that she keeps spreading these lies. So he decides the best thing to do is to kidnap her, force her to stop writing by marrying her. So like I said, this setup, these two are definitely enemies. When the story starts, they have a lot of hateful feelings towards one another, but I really liked seeing them kind of discover that they're both wrong about one another, and all of that kind of discovery as the story unfolds. The hero has a lot of my wife talk. It was so good. They definitely had a lot to overcome with each of their mistakes. Next up is her Ruthless Duke, also from Scarlett Scott. Like I said, I have a lot of hers that I love this year. So this is the first book in her Rogues Guild series, and this is actually easily my new favorite from her. So this one is a Guardian Ward historical romance, and it has a little bit of an age gap as well. It's 10 years. The heroine's 20, the hero's 30. He was basically friends with her father. The hero is actually a retired spy as well, so we have that going on. So he never knew that his late friend / her father was going to leave the heroine to him. So it was very unexpected, and he kind of can't stand her. He even describes her as the bane of his existence multiple times. The heroine is one of those like very sassy and spirited heroines who loves to push the hero's buttons, and he can't stand how like she keeps getting under his skin. So his plan is to get her married off as quickly as possible and get her out of his house. These two were just so good together. The chemistry, the passion. I'm always going to be a sucker for a sassy, spirited heroine who isn't going to listen to the hero. I love that. I love the like push and pull between these two. It's just so good. There's a little bit of a compromised situation that leads to a marriage of convenience, and it's just so good. I love it so much. Next up is The Duke Gets Desperate by Diana Quincy. This is actually the first book in a new series from her, and this one was so good. I loved it so much. This is a class difference historical romance. So in this one, the hero is a duke, and he actually finds out that his father screwed him over not once, but twice for his family's estate. Basically, when his father died, the hero didn't inherit the castle that they live in. It was left to his stepmother, who hated him, who he hated. And then when his stepmother passed away, the family's castle again was not left to him, but it was left to his stepmother's cousin, who lives in America. The hero was thinking he was going to inherit the castle finally, and he had all these plans to fix it up and things like that and bring it back to its former glory. But instead, he finds out that he was only left the land and the tenants around the castle, and that this stranger to him is left the castle in the center of it all. So that's how he actually ends up meeting the heroine, because she is the Arab American cousin of his stepmother who was left the castle. The heroine in this one, I loved how she's very business-minded and has strong ideas of how to kind of turn around the castle and make it profitable. This book takes place during Victorian times, so kind of when the aristocracy in England is having to realize they need to come up with other ways to make money and stay relevant. I really enjoyed seeing the heroine kind of step in here and realizing that the estate and the castle has this opportunity to kind of be profitable by opening it up for tours. She's also just so headstrong and one of those who isn't afraid to get in there and get her own hands dirty. Like, she rolls up her sleeves and she starts doing some of the housekeeping work that has been neglected, and she's just like ready to make this work. She definitely butts heads a lot with the hero with some of his ideas, but I loved seeing these two come together. I'm always a sucker for a class difference historical, and this one was definitely so good. And then lastly, I have Heartless Duke by Scarlett Scott. So this is actually the second book in the Leagues of Duke series. And the first book was actually one of my favorite books of 2022. So it's no surprise that this book is one of my favorite historicals from 2023. Like I said, this author is so good at true enemies to lovers, and this is another historical romance that she does with enemies to lovers in another captive situation. So this one has a lot of twists. Basically in here, the hero is setting off to his brother's estate for his brother's wedding, and when he gets there, he is immediately entranced by the governess who works there, who is the heroine. So we quickly find out that the heroine is actually just posing and pretending to be a governess, but she's actually a trusted member of this underground organization to gain Irish independence, and so she's ready to do whatever it takes to kind of do this. So at the beginning of the story, she actually ends up kidnapping her charge, who she was in charge of, who is the hero's nephew. So the hero actually ends up jumping in and becoming involved as well, because he's actually the leader of this secret branch of the Home Office who is trying to keep the peace. So he ends up jumping in, they find his nephew, and then he ends up taking the heroine back to his house with him and putting her under house arrest. This one, the energy and tension between these two is obviously a lot, and it's just so good. Like I said, this author does enemies to lovers so well. This one, it was super fun to see how it played out, and I really enjoyed the connection between this couple. I liked seeing the characters on their own as well and all the things they have going on. So yeah, this one is just so good. I definitely recommend checking out Scarlett Scott if you haven't yet. All right, so those were my 16 favorite historical romance reads of 2023. This was so much fun to do. Like I said, I can't wait to go check out Bee's video as well and see what her favorite historicals of the year were. Definitely let me know in the comments too what some of your favorites were. If you've read any of these ones that I just talked about, I'd love to know. Or if you have any favorites from the year for me that you think I will love, let me know that as well. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, and I'll see you in my next one.